G'day Aquarius and Aquarius risings. The weather's just starting to turn as I'm recording this, which is perfect for us and for discussing the eclipse that is about to activate a lot of change in your world right now. So on your chart, to be an Aquarius soul, you'll find that Taurus rules your fourth house, which is your house of roots and stability and privacy and safety. Now, this would probably go to suggest and explain how important the retreat is for you, how important being at home is, because you do spend so much of your energy thinking about others and thinking about how the greater collective operates as one and what decisions can be made in order for that to be a tenable, movable machine. It is very important for you and very grounding and stabilizing for you to retreat to a comfortable, happy home. Now, unfortunately, this is the space that the eclipse is happening. Now, I am going to caveat all of this by just giving you a quick 101 that astrology is not anything that we're doomed to suffer. We use astrology, we look at the movements in the sky to develop a greater understanding for perhaps some of the occurrences that we are dealing with in our lives. We look to astrology for comfort and understanding and for resilience and for grounding in a lot of ways. So don't ever feel that you're doomed to suffer any kind of trajectory that you pick up or read or hear or whatever from somebody who's translating the movements of the sky. That's what I'll say. Now, in terms of an eclipse, eclipses bring out profound change. They move and shift energies that we have less control over. There is a great sense of a collective spirit, a collective energy being moved by the eclipses. You'll probably find, speaking to folks, if they agree with astrology or not, that they're going through something of a change at the moment in many different aspects of life. So when we deal with a change at home, when we deal with an upheaval of a space that was once providing us with comfort and stability and groundedness, how do we approach that and how do we move through in order to assess the benefits that this change has provided? I've got some tarot cards out here as well. What I like to do is I look at a natal chart that has Aquarius as the rising sign, and then that shows me where the different planets are and what houses they're activating for an Aquarius soul. And I also pull some tarot cards just to sort of aid me along in my conversation of this understanding. So there is maybe a sense of worry that you're going to be left out in the cold with nothing come this change. I think that there could be, whatever changes are occurring for you, there is definitely an anxiety around being destabilized and being left out or being locked out or being without resource, not being able to provide. I think that I really want to remind you that you are incredibly adept at providing for everyone, and that mustn't be overlooked in the sense of you're providing for yourself as well. The energy that I'm picking up here from this reading it's interesting because Uranus, the planet, is at 14 degrees of Taurus right now in the sky. And at 14 degrees of Taurus is when we pick up the Six of Pentacles card. The Six of Pentacles is a Taurian card. It's the card of charity. It's the card of abundance enough to give out to those that need it. It's the card of gift giving and being generous and gregarious with one's assets, with one's material possessions, with one's wealth. And in your reading that I've just pulled out to prompt myself, the Six of Pentacles has come out, but she's in reverse. So this would maybe go to suggest that there might be some advice for you in this moment to really look out for. Number one, that sounds cold, but it's not cold. It's going to sound cold because you're an Aquarius rising, and that's just not how you compute. But I think that probably what you need to do is really focus in on your individual talents and skill when it comes to generating material safety and comfort and things like that. If we switch down and look over at your second house, which is the house of all of these things, it is the house of talent, possessions, it's the house of personal resources, your earning power. So right now, we've got Venus and Jupiter in an exact conjunction in your second house. Now, Jupiter expands and zooms in, magnifies whatever planet she's holding hands with. Right now it's Venus. And we all know we've got the rock song about Venus. We all have the mythology of Venus is pretty sewn into our minds of what she represents. She represents love and beauty and sensuality and sexuality and pleasure and all of those sorts of wonderful things. So now might be the time for you to reap some of your own abundance. It might be time for you to focus and zone in on the parts of yourself that are serving your spirit and your individuality, which I'm going to say again is so difficult for an Aquarius rising to hear. I really understand that this is going to just not be working out in your brain. But please stick with me, trust me as we go through it, because whatever changes happen at home, when we think about things like stability, privacy, roots, all of these protecting forces that we need in order to feel safe and to feel relaxed. When changes happen there, when there's an uprooting of these energies, when there's shifts that are bound to happen, no matter what we try and avoid. That was a crap sentence, but you know what I mean. Where do we go to regroup, to reground? Where can we go? And there's so much positive energy happening up in your second house right now that it's the perfect time to focus in on oneself. I would defy anyone in your periphery to label that as a selfish act, because what we must understand is that we all have limited energy at the moment. We are all currently living through the effects of a collective trauma. This experience of the pandemic has been incredibly destabilizing to all of us, and we've all chosen and tried to figure out what path to take in order to restabilize, in order to keep going. I think that there's a real sense of having to move forward, and this eclipse is really getting us to slow down and to stop and to reassess. There's a potential to find the clearing right now, to find the blessing, and to look for the reasons why amidst all of this chaos that's been going on. There's been a real sense that we are divided, and that also is really destabilizing for an Aquarius soul. That sense of division, that sense of the community not acting for the community's greater good, that idea of being separate and divided, lines being drawn. There's many different ways to deal with this turbulence. The way that I feel is going to serve you best is to actively make steps to care for yourself and to really look around at what ceremonies and rituals ease and soothe your soul that you can do alone. Look at the different aspects of life that fill you up, that don't require input or energy from anybody else. Eclipses, we feel the effects for 6 months after they occur. So this isn't just a blip in the road. This isn't sort of something that we're going to swerve and miss. Potentially, maybe, depending on what you're willing to look at. But the Taurus-Scorpio axis, which is where the eclipses are taking place, that won't shift until next year. So these parts of our lives, your fourth house of roots, is really going to go through a reinvigoration, a regeneration, a change, a shift. So we need to do all that we can with the remaining energy that's available to us in order to help us move through. And you've been urged for a while, there's just too much positive energy flowing through your second house. Neptune's in there as well. I mean, Jupiter and Neptune conjoined in there. So I don't know if you were feeling like it's difficult when you have lost your sense of direction, I guess, in terms of, well, what am I supposed to be doing? Why am I here? Where am I going? I think that it would really pay you, Aquarius, to get a little bit more intuitive and to get a little bit more dug into the dreamscape and into fantasy land. I know that that's really tricky because you're an air sign and that's just not where you go, but there's some nuggets in there to dig up. There's some real answers and some real possibility and opportunity to dig up there. I know what it feels like to have a destabilized home life. My history has dotted that, peppered that all through my experience. I've come to terms with the idea that I'm used to that, although there is a lot of importance on my fourth house on my chart. So I'm also coming to terms with the fact that it's up to me to co-create and to provide for myself. So when it comes to a destabilized home life, for somebody that relies so heavily on the safety of roots, that searches for it, that's been searching for it their whole life, for that sort of sense of safety, know that while there's an upheaval in one part of your life, you have access to joy and you have access to alternative ways of providing the care and soothing that you need. I'm going to leave this one here, Aquarius. Much love to you, and do let me know how you like the audio intuitive version of the horoscopes this time around. The eclipse is happening in my third house, which is the house of communication, so I'm trying to change things up a bit. We'll see if it works or if I've made a terrible mistake, but let me know. Send me an email. Head over to umaruby.com and we can have a chat. Much love to you. Take care. Everything's going to happen for the benefit of all, just as you like, Aquarius. That's how you prefer things to be. So in moments of real turbulence, just try and hang on to that optimism, that is really what your soul needs and yearns for. And that's a really noble place to be. And that's really difficult sometimes. And it can't happen. It can't be fruitful and vibrant without including yourself in that mix. Take care of yourself. I love you lots.